The Mangrove Tree: Planting Trees to Feed Families by Susan L. Roth and Cindy Trumbore. By the Red Sea, in the African country of Eritrea, lies a little village called Hargigo. The children play in the dust between houses made of cloth, tin cans, and flattened iron. The families used to be hungry. Their animals were hungry too. But then things began to change, all because of a tree. This is the tree, a mangrove tree. The land in Hargigo is dry and dusty. There is very little rain. It was hard for leafy plants to grow, and the sheep and goats that eat leaves did not have enough food. Then a scientist had an idea to plant mangrove trees by the shore of the salty Red Sea so the animals could eat the fat green leaves on the trees. These are the trees, mangrove trees, that were planted by the sea. The scientist with the idea was Dr. Gordon Sato. He decided to plant mangrove trees because their roots and leaves help them live in salty water. The roots stick out like pencils above the water to take in air, and the thick leaves squeeze out salt. Mangroves produce seeds that sprout while they are still on the trees. These seeds become seedlings, sturdy little plants, before they fall off. Gordon studied how to make the seedlings grow right by the sea, in areas where the land is washed by high and low tides. Then he started his planting project. These are the seedlings that grew into trees, mangrove trees that were planted by the sea. Most of the people who planted the mangrove seedlings were women. The project gave them a way to earn money close to home. To grow by the sea, the seedlings needed extra nutrients. Workers filled plastic bags with fertilizer that contained nitrogen and phosphorus. These are the nutrients that mangroves would get naturally from rainwater in streams created by the rain. The workers punched 3 small holes in each bag so the nutrients would flow out at just the right rate. Then they buried a bag near each seedling along with an iron rod, because mangroves need iron too. These are the women who tended the seedlings that grew into trees, mangrove trees, that were planted by the sea. The mangrove trees became a leafy green forest, 4 miles, 6 4/10 kilometers long. Like all plants, mangrove trees help the environment. Their leaves take carbon dioxide out of the air. In exchange, the leaves give off oxygen, which people and animals need to breathe. These are the leaves, all plump and green, that wave in the trees that grew from the seedlings the women tended, a forest of trees, mangrove trees, that were planted by the sea. The sheep and goats gobbled up the mangrove leaves. Gordon studied how much weight the animals gained from eating the leaves. He decided they needed more protein to grow bigger and have healthier babies. So the goats and sheep were fed a mix of mangrove leaves, dried mangrove seeds, and ground up dried fish. This mixture helped the mother animals produce more nutritious milk for their kids and lambs. These are the goats and these are the sheep that eat the leaves all plump and green, that wave in the trees that grew from the seedlings the women tended, a forest of trees, mangrove trees, that were planted by the sea. Before Gordon started the mangrove tree planting project, the village shepherds had to walk into the highlands far away to find food for their sheep and goats. Once plenty of healthy food was available nearby, the animals lived longer and the shepherds saw their flocks of sheep and goats multiply. These are the shepherds who watch the goats and watch the sheep that eat the leaves, all plump and green, that wave in the trees that grew from the seedlings the women tended. A forest of trees, mangrove trees, that were planted by the sea. Now the people of Hargigo use every part of the mangrove tree. Bundles of dry branches are a fuel for the fires that cook food for the mothers and fathers and children. There is more meat to cook and more milk to drink. Because the families own more animals, the children are healthier. These are the children with dusty feet who play as the shepherds watch the goats and watch the sheep that eat the leaves, all plump and green, that wave in the trees that grew from the seedlings. The women tended a forest of trees, mangrove trees, that were planted by the sea. Mangrove tree roots are hiding places for many sea creatures, such as small fish, crabs, shrimp, and oysters. These small creatures attract bigger fish. As a result, the local fishermen catch more and more fish for their families to eat and sell. These are the fishermen who catch the fish that swim in the roots of the mangrove trees, fathers of children with dusty feet, who play as the shepherds, watch the goats, and watch the sheep, that eat the leaves, all plump and green, that wave in the trees that grew from the seedlings the women tended, a forest of trees, mangrove trees, that were planted by the sea. Today, Gordon dreams of mangrove forests planted in many parts of the world. He sees mangroves growing in countries with sea coasts similar to Eritrea, such as Mexico, Peru, and Somalia. He also sees mangroves in desert areas, including the Sahara in Africa and the Atacama Desert in South America, where seawater can be pumped in. The trees would help the local people in all the ways that Gordon's project has helped the villagers of Harkigo. This is Gordon, whose greatest wish is to help all the fishermen catching their fish, to help all the children with dusty feet, to help all the shepherds who watch goats and sheep, to help all the women who tend the seedlings. By planting trees, mangrove trees by the sea. And this is just a little explanation of the doctor, his idea, and background.